You probably know someone like this. Maybe it's a neighbor, a relative, or someone from your church. They're in their late 80s or early 90s. Sharp mind, steady on their feet, still laughing at their own jokes. And every time you see them, you wonder, what are they doing differently? Scientists have spent years studying people who reach 90 in genuinely good health. And what they keep finding surprise most people. It's not about expensive supplements. It's not about running marathons at 70. The difference, more often than not, comes down to what these people are not doing. Specifically, in the hours before they go to sleep, there are 5 things, and the last one is the one almost nobody talks about. But researchers are calling it one of the most underestimated threats to how long and how well you live. The first point, eating late. Here's something most people get completely wrong about food and aging. They spend all day thinking about what to eat. Should I take more vegetables, less sugar, or more protein? But the people who live the longest aren't just thinking about what they eat. They're paying close attention to when they stop. There's a window, and most people don't know it exists. Research published in medical journals has found that eating a heavy meal within 2 to 3 hours of sleep does something quietly damaging to the body, something you can't feel while it's happening. Your metabolism slows during sleep. Your body can no longer process glucose the way it does during the day. So the food you eat late doesn't get used, it gets stored. And over months and years, that storage starts to look like insulin resistance, weight gain, and disrupted sleep cycles. But here's what makes this particularly relevant for anyone over 65. As you age, your body's ability to regulate blood sugar at night becomes less efficient. What a 40-year-old can handle after a late dinner, a 70-year-old simply cannot. Not without a cost. The people who live past 90 tend to finish their last real meal by early evening. Not because someone told them to, but because over time they noticed something. They slept better, they woke up lighter, and their mornings felt different. Their bodies had time to do what bodies are supposed to do at night. Repair, restore, and reset. The question worth sitting with is this: how many hours pass between your last meal and the moment your head hits the pillow? If the answer is less than 3, then something in your body tonight is working against you instead of for you. The second point is screens before bed. Most people assume this is a young person's problem. Teenagers glued to their phones, adults binge watching until midnight. Surely someone in their 70s or 80s isn't affected the same way, right? That assumption is exactly backwards. Here's what the research actually shows. And this is the part that changes how you think about your evenings. Older adults produce significantly less melatonin than younger people. Melatonin is the hormone your brain releases in the evening to tell your body that sleep is coming. It's what makes you feel naturally drowsy. And as you age, your body makes less of it. Now add a screen. Phones, televisions, and tablets. They all emit blue light. And blue light tells your brain one very specific thing. It is daytime. Stop producing melatonin. Stay alert. For a 30-year-old, this is disruptive. For someone over 65, it can effectively shut down the body's natural sleep signal almost entirely for hours. But it's not just the light, it's what's on the screen. The evening news, a tense drama, a family argument playing out in a group chat. Each of these activates your nervous system at the exact moment it needs to be winding down. Your heart rate rises slightly, your thoughts accelerate, and by the time you put the phone down and close your eyes, your brain doesn't know it's supposed to be sleeping. People who consistently reach very old age in good health tend to create what researchers call a wind-down buffer, a stretch of time in the evening, usually an hour or more, where screens go dark and the nervous system is allowed to settle. Not because they read a study, but because they discovered, usually by accident, that evenings without screens led to mornings that felt like something had been given back to them. What are you doing in the hour before you sleep tonight? The third point is going to bed with unresolved stress. There's a moment that happens in the lives of many older adults, and it's one of the quietest forms of damage that nobody talk about at the doctor's office. It happens at night, the house is quiet, the lights are off, and that's when everything that was held back during the day comes forward. The worry about a medical bill, the unspoken tension with a family member, and the thought that keeps returning, no matter how many times you push it away. Most people think this is just part of getting older. They're completely wrong. When you carry unresolved emotional stress into sleep, your body doesn't actually rest. Not fully. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, stays elevated. And elevated cortisol at night does something specific. It interrupts the deep, slow wave sleep that your brain uses to consolidate memory, repair tissue, and regulate immune function. Night after night, the loss compounds. Research on people who age exceptionally well consistently shows one pattern that doesn't get nearly enough attention. They have developed small, deliberate rituals for processing the day before sleep. Not therapy, not medication. Simple things. Writing down what's weighing on them. A short prayer, a conversation with someone they trust, or even just sitting quietly and naming the things they're grateful for. These aren't soft suggestions. They are the difference between a body that repairs itself at night and one that continues, even in sleep, to run on stress hormones that were never meant to stay elevated past sundown. The unresolved thing you're carrying tonight, your body's going to carry it too. The fourth point, alcohol to help sleep. This one is perhaps the most misunderstood habit among older adults, and one of the most common. A glass of wine in the evening, a small whiskey before bed. Yes, it feels relaxing, it feels like it's helping, and in one narrow sense, it is. Alcohol does help most people fall asleep faster. That part is real. But here is what happens next. And this is the part the glass of wine doesn't tell you. As your body metabolizes the alcohol, usually in the second half of the night, something shifts. The sedative effect wears off, and what replaces it is a kind of neurological rebound that fragments the rest of your sleep. You wake up. Maybe you remember it, maybe you don't. Your REM sleep, the stage where your brain processes memory, emotion, and learning, is cut short. And by the time morning comes, you've spent hours in bed, but only a fraction of that time in genuinely restorative sleep. For older adults, this matters more than most people realize. Sleep becomes lighter and more fragile with age. The architecture of a good night's sleep is already under pressure. Adding alcohol, even in small amounts, even occasionally, disrupts what little deep sleep the aging brain is still able to access. Research involving tens of thousands of adults has found that nearly 90% of people who regularly use alcohol in the evening report at least one significant sleep problem. Most of them believe the alcohol is helping. The people who live to 90 in good health are not, as a group, the ones ending every evening with a drink to wind down. And the reason isn't that they're avoiding pleasure. It's that somewhere along the way, they made a quiet trade, a habit that felt soothing in the moment, for mornings that actually felt like rest. The fifth point, ignoring what their body is telling them before bed. This last one is different from the others. It's not about food or light or alcohol. It's about something older adults do every single night. Something that seems completely harmless, maybe even practical. That quietly steals from their sleep in ways that add up over years. They ignore their body, not in dramatic ways, in small ones. The bladder that's telling them to go to the bathroom, but they're comfortable, so they decide to wait until morning. The slight tension in their shoulders that's been there since afternoon, but they don't stretch, they just lie down. The mind that's still running, but instead of addressing it, they just close their eyes and hope sleep comes. People who age well have developed a kind of pre-sleep attentiveness. Before they lie down, they check in, not obsessively, just honestly. Have I eaten too close to bedtime? Is there something I need to put down before I can rest? Is my body physically ready for sleep, or am I just tired of being awake? That difference between being tired and being ready is something the longest living people seem to understand intuitively. Sleep isn't something that happens to you. It's something your body does when the conditions are right. And creating those conditions night after night, year after year, is one of the quietest forms of self-respect a person can practice. There's a reason the people who reach 90, still sharp, still smiling, still present, there's a reason their evenings look different from everyone else's. It's not one dramatic choice. It's 5 small ones, made consistently over a lifetime. And here's what's worth considering. Of the 5 things we talked about today, which one are you most guilty of? Because the answer to that question might say more about the next 20 years of your life than anything your doctor has told you recently. The body keeps score, especially at night, especially after 65. And if you think the nighttime habits are the whole story, wait until you hear what researchers found about the morning ones.